Okay, so again, our field built up nicely. Let's have another go with the pale green. So again, particularly in this area, the transition from foreground to midground just needs to be softened and blended. You can use that pale green also a little bit in the trees, just a few highlights, just for those leaves that are sticking out and catching a little bit more sun than those around them. Okay. Inflections leaning in. Okay. And I'm going to use my dark green, same dark green that I used for the shadow. Down at the bottom in my foreground. I just want a little bit more contrast. So that change from light to dark happens most in this bottom area on both sides of the foreground. The higher up I go, the smaller the marks I need to make. As I come down, I can be a little bolder. So small ones, small inflections, higher up, and stronger, bolder inflections near the bottom. We could come right off the page. Again, you could keep doing this for a very long time. But obviously, the more you do it, the closer you're going to get to the original. Switch from the dark green. I'll have some number 17 yellow green. Again, just making our foreground a little bit more interesting. Contrasting between light and dark. Softening that blue curve. Okay, right, I think we're ready for some poppies. There are many things we can do to refine the picture. For example, in the background, we can use a little bit of purple. This is number 13. And it's actually just called purple. So here in the hills that are very far away, we've still got them in just pale blue with the underpainting of the pale blue acrylic from the very beginning. I could just add a few inflections of purple or a slightly darker blue just to build up that hill line, give it a little bit more solidity. Again, I'm not drawing it in, we want to avoid lines, so lots of little inflections will give us a nice broken field, and the same on this side. Just hinting at things hidden in the distance. And we can do the same with a medium blue. So we go with number 52. It's a light ultramarine. I'm just going to darken the bushes again with a few inflections. Just bringing those forward a tiny bit, which of course has the knock-on effect of pushing the hills further back. Okay. And I'll use a little bit more Prussian blue in the shadows on those trees. Just adding a little bit more intensity. And that again will help to bring those trees forward and at the same time push our distance further back. So I'm looking at the original, looking at the shapes of the trees, looking for any dark areas, and then just scattergunning my inflections around that area. So again, I'm going to move back to my number 49 dark grey, just to soften the purple, which is in that gap under the tree. A little bit of grey in there. Okay. Right, we're looking okay. It's time for some poppies. Okay, so we're actually going to do the poppies in bands. So far away, we've got those little patches. I could use a tiny bit of orange just to bring those out. So very lightly, because they are far away and very pale. And then on the shoulder of the shadow, we'll have a few more left and rights. Okay, now as we come just below the second or the lowest of the bouncing balls, we've got our first band of poppies. For those, we're going to use orange. What we're going to do is single strikes. So we want one inflection. So I'm looking at the original. I'm not trying to get them in exactly the same place as Monet, somewhere near the pattern that he provides us with. So the reason I'm using orange instead of red is because these poppies are a little bit further away and consequently are a little bit paler. So we have a broken line of single strikes through the middle band. And then where the foreground transitions into the midground, we can have a series of double strikes. And by double strikes, I mean 2 strikes in the same place. Again, I'm just looking at the pattern. 1, 2, 1, 2. And these are just above the big bouncing ball motif. Some are on the line, some are above the line, and some are below the line. So I'm just double stabbing in a nice broker pattern. We've got some that stand alone. And we have some in little patches that stand together. Now I'm going to switch to vermilion, which is number 10. So where I've reached down my second band of poppies with the double strikes, just below that and intermingling with that, I'll use a slightly darker red, and I'm still double striking. Loosely trying to follow the pattern, picking out the singles and the little families. These can be a little more intense because they're that much closer to us. Okay, now we're ready for the foreground poppies. I'm going to stick with the number 10 vermilion. This time I'm going to be doing 4 strikes in the same place. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm just looking at the pattern Monet has provided us. And while I'm not trying to get it exactly the same, I'm following that pattern reasonably closely. Especially where, for example, in the middle here, we have a nice little family, 2, some overlapping. Bottom right hand corner we have 1, 2, 3. Again, some stand alone, others come in little bunches with some overlapping. Single strikes up into that area. Okay. And on the very foreground ones, I can switch to a number 11 red. If I just pick a few of my foreground poppies and just give them 1 extra leaf in a slightly darker red, it'll just give them a little extra form. So we'll perhaps have petals in light and petals in shadow. Okay. Now again, for additional contrast, I'm going to use my Prussian blue, where I've got little bits of white that I don't want and they're still sticking out. Just going to have a little broken pattern of blue shadow, something similar to the dark green. Smaller dashes the higher up I go. And as I get nearer to the bottom, I can be a little braver. So again, those dark inflections have the effect of bringing the foreground forward and pushing the rest of the picture back. Okay, I think we're pretty close. So, as I said earlier on, towards the end, just do a few peaches. We would go back to the sky and just give a little bit of extra form to some of our clouds. Okay, let's just tap off. Right. Put those away. Okay. So I'm going back to white. So where I've got quite a broad, bold stripe of white, I want it to graduate further into the sky. So again, I'm just going to use my white on its side, push with my thumb, a little bit of extra scrumbling. Just working myself some circles. Lightening the sky as I go. Looking at the patches I could see in Monet's original. I'm just trying to work those patches in. Okay, so a little bit bigger bit. Same technique. Mixture of scrumbling and stabbing. The sky is working lighter. Okay. Get myself a fresh piece of white and just keep going. Now I'm just stabbing in some edges. Can vary the angle of the stroke. It's just going to help add a a little bit of density. Okay, so we are getting our poppy pattern built up, and we are now softening our sky, lightening our sky, using a combination of scrumble and stab. Nice stabby edges to our clouds, just to give them a little more form. We'll bring it right into the foliage and shadow. Scrumble at the top. And that is Champ de Vaughn, 1890. Pretty close to the Monet original. Our impression of the Impressionist.